Nearly everyone recognized Prohibition as a colossal failure, and yet the nation persevered with it for 13 years. A poem in Franklin Pierce Adams' popular newspaper column, The Conning Tower, in the New York World, perfectly caught the official attitude. Prohibition is an awful flaw. We like it. It can't stop when it's meant to stop. We like it. It's left a trail of graft and slime. It's filled our land with vice and crime. It don't prohibit worth a dime. Nevertheless, we're for it. It was, in fact, because Prohibition wasn't working very well that Wheeler and his supporters insisted that the government poison industrial alcohol. Other denatures, such as soda and detergents, would have worked just as well in making drinks unpalatable. But hardcore drives weren't satisfied with that. Wheeler sincerely believed that people who drank poisoned alcohol got what they deserved. It was, in his view, deliberate suicide. The Reverend John Roach Straight, last seen here hoping for the speedy execution of Lee Snyder, was even more unnerved. When he learned that the governor and attorney general of Indiana had both given small doses of whiskey to desperately ill loved ones on doctor's orders, Straight declared they should have permitted the members of their family to die, and have died themselves, rather than violate their oaths of office. In June 1927, Prohibition seemed set to endure forever. In fact, it was about to reach a turning point. Though there was no sign of it quite yet, for Wayne Wheeler, the summer of 1927 would prove to be the worst summer of his life, and the last one. Chapter 13. After presenting Charles Lindbergh with his Distinguished Flying Cross in Washington on June 11, Calvin Coolidge didn't hang around. As soon as he could decently get away, he went with Mrs. Coolidge to Union Station, where a special train was waiting to take them and a small army of reporters and presidential staff. Some 75 people in all, along with 2 collies and a pet raccoon and Beckley, to South Dakota for a long summer vacation. Coolidge suffered from chronic indigestion and asthma, which left him eager to flee London, Washington for clean western air. It was the first time that the White House had been decamped to such a distant spot. In effect, the seat of government of the United States for the next 3 months would be Rapid City High School. The Coolidges themselves, however, were to be based 32 miles away at a residence called the State Game Lodge at the foot of Mount Harney in Custer State Park. State Game Lodge sounds rather grand, but the Coolidge's accommodation was in fact just a sitting room and bedroom with a bathroom down the hall. They didn't mind in the least. It was a simple age. President Coolidge delighted in seeing himself in newsrooms. Because he did not reach the Game Lodge until after dusk, the next morning he had the whole presidential party, now grown to some 200 people, with the addition of local officials and support staff. Reload every bag and suitcase into cars, drive 200 yards down the road, and reenact the presidential arrival as the cameras recorded the fictitiously historic moment. For the state of South Dakota, the president's presence was a very big deal. It desperately wanted to be perceived as an attractive destination for tourists. The thought occurred to some that if the president was seen to be enjoying himself fishing in the state's sparkling waters, then other anglers might be tempted to travel there as well. To make sure the exercise was a success, 2,000 full-grown trout were sent from the state trout hatchery at Spearfish. These trout, all large, sluggish, and hand-fed from birth, were secretly confined to a pool of water outside the Coolidge residence by submerged nets strung strategically between banks. To his host's dismay, Coolidge declared that he had no interest in fishing. Eventually, he was persuaded to give it a try. Dressed in a business suit, he dipped a baited rod in the water. Instantly, the starving fish erupted in a silvery frenzy around the hook, and a moment later Coolidge lifted a wriggling prize from the water. It beamed from ear to ear, and could barely be coaxed away from the stream after that. He and Mrs. Coolidge dined proudly on his caught trout daily, even though they were, by all accounts, almost inedible. Coolidge didn't like dealing with worms, however, and had his Secret Service men bait his fish for him. Apart from the worms, he was immensely happy. While the Coolidges enjoyed themselves in the Black Hills, Charles Lindbergh continued, with ever-decreasing enthusiasm, to receive the adulation of the American people. Alva Johnston, writing in the New York Times from St. Louis, was struck by how unmoved Lindbergh appeared to be by the parade and other festivities laid on for him. Colonel Lindbergh never indicated by expression or gesture that he understood that the demonstration was for him, Johnston wrote. He did not smile or wave. Nothing moved him to admit that the glittery spectacle and the deafening uproar was a personal tribute. The following day, Lindbergh delighted a crowd of 100,000 in Forest Park with aerial acrobatics, but underwent an abrupt mood change upon landing. The holiday spirit deserted him when he touched earth, Johnston. As soon as he left his own element, the stern and rather gloomy demeanor returned. He is not quite at his ease on land. Things got worse. From St. Louis, Lindbergh flew to Dayton, Ohio, to visit Orville Wright, co-inventor of the airplane, with his late mother Wilbur. Thrilled city officials hastily organized a parade and reception, and were dismayed when Lindbergh refused to take part in either, on the grounds that this was a private meeting. When disappointed townspeople learned that Lindbergh had declined their tribute, many of them marched on Wright's home and demanded to see their hero. When Lindbergh still refused to appear, the crowd grew restive and threatened to do actual damage to Wright's house. Only then did Lindbergh, beseeched by Wright for the sake of his property, step onto a balcony and briefly wave to the crowd. Reporters found Lindbergh close to sullen when he returned to New York via Mitchell Field on June 24th. Colonel Lindbergh appeared much more tired than when he left New York a week ago. He did not smile once, wrote another Times report. As Lindbergh was about to climb into an automobile for the drive into Manhattan, a pretty girl rushed up and asked if she could shake his hand. Lindbergh's reaction surprised everybody. He looked at her severely and said, "No shaking hands," and drew his arm away swiftly, wrote the Times report. The girl was clearly crushed, and Lindbergh embarrassed, but he seemed powerless to behave in a more relaxed and decent way. The world, however, refused to see him as anything other than a warm-hearted hero, and the press soon stopped noting his curiously flat aspect and lack of enthusiasm for those who adored him, and resumed depicting him as the obliging hero the world wished him to be. While Lindbergh was breaking hearts at Mitchell Field, Commander Richard Byrd was continuing to mystify the flying fraternity at Roosevelt. A special earthen ramp about 6 feet high and 50 feet long had been erected at the starting point for takeoff to help the American get airborne. 3 times the plane was hauled to the top of its takeoff ramp, and 3 times Byrd gravely scanned the sky in order to postpone it. The delays began to look something more than ridiculous, fumed Fokker. With Floyd Bennett permanently lost to the team, Byrd appointed Bert Acosta as chief pilot. A tanned and rakish-looking fellow of exotic Mexican Amerindian lineage, Acosta was a celebrated ladies' man. His Latin allure and his low come-hither voice wrought havoc among the fair, and wanted one biographer. In the movies, he might have been another Valentino. Acosta was also one of the world's most daring stunt pilots. His specialty was to pluck a handkerchief from the ground with a wingtip. Not surprisingly, these skills would prove somewhat irrelevant on an ocean crossing. To assist Acosta, Byrd selected the Norwegian Bernd Bolchen as co-pilot, but Bolchen was listed only as mechanic or relief pilot because Rodman Wanamaker wanted to keep the Enterprise all down. Bolchen was only allowed to come at all after agreeing to apply for U.S. citizenship. Byrd, in a press conference, said that Bolchen was primarily a passenger, though he might also be allowed to do a little navigating when Byrd was busy with other duties. In fact, Bolchen did nearly all the flying. On an early test flight with Acosta, Bolchen got a glimpse of the problems the team faced. As the America flew into cloud, Acosta grew tense and flustered. Within minutes, he had put the plane into a dangerous spin. Bolchen grabbed the controls, which Acosta yielded gratefully. "I'm strictly a fair-weather boy," Acosta told him, blushing. "If there's any thick stuff, I stay on the ground." Acosta, it turned out, had no idea how to fly on instruments. The only reason that Byrd's flight made it to France was that Bolchen was willing to fly most of the way without demanding any of the credit or glory. The 4th member of the crew was the most anonymous. George Noble, a radio operator, was retiring, bespectacled, and all but invisible to history. He was the son of a wealthy hat manufacturer from Cleveland, who was important enough to merit an obituary in the New York Times, something his son never got. If Noville made any impression on his fellow flyers, none bothered to record it. He barely appears in Byrd's and Balchin's autobiographies, is entirely missing from all others, and left no account of his own. As for Byrd himself, he was a remarkable human being, but not at all an easy one to figure. A born adventurer, he made his first trip around the world at the age of just 12, after persuading his parents, who were evidently seriously indulgent, to let him travel alone to the Philippines to visit a family friend, and then to continue on the long way around. He was nearly 14 at the time he completed his certification. Byrd was smart, handsome, reasonably brave, and unquestionably generous, but he was also almost pathologically vain, pompous, and self-serving. Every word he ever wrote about himself made him seem valorous, calm, and wise. He was also, and above all, very possibly a great liar. On May 9, 1926, 1 year to the day before Nunez and Collins, Byrd and Floyd Bennett made a celebrated flight from Spitsbergen in the Arctic Ocean to the North Pole and back in 15.5 hours, just beating a rival flight in an airship by the Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen, and piloted by Umberto Nobile, another Italian fascist airline. Byrd's polar flight was considered a feat for the ages. Byrd was promoted to commander and lavishly treated to parades and medals upon his return home. People named children after him. Streets were named after him. One overexcited admirer penned a biography of his dog, Igloo. From the outset, however, doubts were privately voiced about Byrd's achievement. Knowledgeable observers couldn't see how Byrd and Bennett could have made the trip in 15.5 hours. Balchin had flown the same plane extensively, and had never gotten a cruising speed above 65 knots, or 74.8 miles per hour. Byrd's flight to the pole required a cruising speed nearly a third faster. Moreover, for the polar flight, Byrd's plane had been fitted with enormous skis for snow leopards, which added a substantial drag to the craft, and not perhaps 5 miles an hour off the speed. When Balchin mentioned to Bennett that he couldn't understand how they had made it to the North Pole and back in such a short time, Bennett replied, "We didn't." He confided to Balchin that the plane had developed an oil leak soon after taking off, and that they had flown back and forth for 14 hours without ever losing sight of Spitsbergen. Rumors that Byrd had, at the very least, exaggerated his achievement persisted for years. Suspicions were darkened by his family's long refusal to let scholars examine his papers. It wasn't until 1996, after Byrd's archive was purchased by Ohio State University for its new Byrd Polar Research Center, that Byrd's log of the flight became available for examination. The log showed heavy erasures where Byrd had done his calculations of distance traveled, suggesting to many that he had falsified the data. A more generous interpretation would be that he had made a mistake in his first calculation and started over. No one can absolutely say, but according to Alex Spencer of the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, it is now generally believed among experts that Byrd and Bennett never reached the pole. What is certain is that when Balchin's autobiography was published in 1959, 2 years after Byrd's death, it aired some of the doubts about Byrd's claims. Byrd's family volubly protested. Under pressure, Balchin's publishers agreed to cut several passages and to withdraw from sale the first 4,000 copies of the book. The Byrd family wasn't fully placated, however. Balchin by this time was an American citizen and a respected member of the United States Air Force. But Senator Harry Byrd, the explorer's brother, reportedly blocked Balchin's promotion to brigadier general and had him quietly relieved of duties. Balchin passed the rest of his career sitting in the Pentagon Library reading. Just as people were wondering if Byrd would ever take off for Europe, he decided to make the flight. In the early hours of June 29th, the America was rolled to the top of its takeoff